I found the ticket before I found the truth. It slipped out of her bag when I was looking for a charger. We had been together for almost 9 years, married for 6. That evening felt completely ordinary. She was in the shower. I was sitting on the floor near the couch, untangling cables and half watching television. Then a folded train ticket landed beside my foot. At first, I didn't even think about it. But when I looked closer, my stomach tightened. The destination was a city nearly 4 hours away. The date printed on the ticket was the same weekend she had promised we'd spend together at a small lakeside cabin we rented every year. I remember staring at the paper for what felt like minutes. Maybe she bought it for someone else. Maybe it was old. Maybe there was a reasonable explanation. Those were the lies I told myself before the real lies arrived. The strange thing is that life had felt normal until then. Not perfect. Just normal. We had a house, 2 dogs, routines, shared grocery lists, inside jokes. I was already imagining retirement with her. I had no idea that one piece of paper was about to unravel everything I thought I knew. Looking back now, the warning signs seem obvious. At the time, they felt harmless. She had become protective of her phone about a year earlier. If I entered a room unexpectedly, the screen would go dark. When I asked about it, she laughed. "Since when are you suspicious?" I laughed too. That was my mistake. I trusted her more than I trusted my own instincts. She started taking more business trips. Sometimes they were only one night. Sometimes an entire weekend. Her explanations always sounded reasonable. Work conference. Training seminar. Client meetings. I never questioned any of it. Meanwhile, I was dealing with problems at work and caring for my father after his surgery. My attention was divided. Maybe that made me easier to deceive. The distance between us appeared gradually. Less affection. Less intimacy. More excuses. But relationships change over time, right? That's what I kept telling myself. When someone has been your safe place for nearly a decade, your mind works overtime to protect the image you have of them. Even when reality starts knocking at the door. The ticket stayed hidden in my desk drawer for 3 days. I kept taking it out and staring at it. I wanted to ask her immediately. Instead, I watched. That sounds terrible, but I needed to know whether I was imagining things. The following week she mentioned the cabin trip again. "We really need that weekend together," she said while making coffee. I nearly dropped my mug. The date on the ticket was still burned into my memory. The same date. Exactly the same. For the first time in our relationship, I checked her social media activity. Nothing unusual. Then I checked our shared bank account. Nothing obvious there either. I almost convinced myself I was paranoid. Then one night, around midnight, her phone lit up on the bedside table. Just for a second. A message preview appeared before the screen locked. I only caught a fragment. "Can't wait to see you again." No name. Just those words. I barely slept. My heart pounded until morning. When she woke up beside me, she looked exactly like the woman I loved. That was the most confusing part. Nothing on the outside had changed. Yet suddenly everything felt different. Suspicion changes the way you experience time. Days become investigations. Conversations become evidence. Every smile feels rehearsed. Every explanation feels incomplete. I hated the person I was becoming. One evening I asked casually about her upcoming trip. "Still going to the cabin with me next weekend?" She didn't hesitate. "Of course." No pause. No guilt. No visible discomfort. That answer shook me more than any lie could have. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. Instead, I called the cabin owner the next day. The reservation had been cancelled 2 weeks earlier. Cancelled by my wife. Without telling me. I sat in my car for nearly an hour after that phone call. The steering wheel felt cold beneath my hands. I wasn't dealing with a misunderstanding anymore. There was planning involved. Preparation. choices. I kept asking myself the same question. Who was she becoming? Or maybe the harder question. Who had she always been? For the first time, I considered the possibility that I might not know the person sleeping beside me. That realization hurt more than any affair ever could. The weekend arrived. She kissed me goodbye Friday morning. I'll send photos from the conference. Conference. That word still makes me sick. After she left, I called in sick to work. I drove to the train station listed on the ticket. I don't know what I expected. Maybe I wanted proof. Maybe I wanted to be wrong. Instead, I saw her. She stepped off the train platform smiling. Not the polite smile she gave coworkers. Not the tired smile she gave me lately. A real smile. The kind I hadn't seen in years. Then a man approached her. They hugged. Not like friends. Not like colleagues. Like people who belonged to each other. I remember feeling strangely calm. Almost numb. My brain couldn't process what my eyes were seeing. Then they kissed. Everything inside me collapsed at once. I didn't confront them there. I couldn't. I sat frozen in my car while they drove away together. I don't remember the drive home. Only fragments. Traffic lights. Rain on the windshield. The sensation that my entire life had just split into two versions. The life before that moment. And whatever came after. I spent 2 days alone in the house. 2 days replaying that kiss. 2 days imagining details I never wanted to imagine. When she returned Sunday evening, she looked relaxed. Happy even. She walked through the front door carrying souvenirs. For a second, I almost admired how convincingly she performed normality. How was the conference? I asked. Exhausting. That single word broke something inside me. I placed the train ticket on the kitchen table. Then I placed a photograph beside it. I had taken the photo from my car. Her face lost all color. The silence lasted forever. Finally she whispered. How long have you known? Not what is this? Not you're mistaken. Not let me explain. Just that. How long have you known? I remember laughing. Not because anything was funny. Because I genuinely didn't know what else to do. 9 years together. Thousands of conversations. And the truth arrived in a single sentence. At that moment, denial disappeared. The woman standing in front of me wasn't fighting the accusation. She was measuring the damage. The confession came in pieces. Like shattered glass. Painful and incomplete. She admitted the relationship had been going on for almost 18 months. 18 months. A year and a half of lies. Birthdays. Anniversaries. Family dinners. Vacations. All of it happened while another relationship existed in the background. The man's name was Daniel. They met during a training seminar. According to her, it started as friendship. Then emotional support. Then something else. The clichés were almost insulting. It wasn't supposed to happen. I never meant to hurt you. I still love you. That last one made me furious. Love? What kind of love requires constant deception? I asked whether anyone else knew. She hesitated. That hesitation terrified me. Because it meant there was more. Much more. Then she quietly admitted her sister had known for months. Several friends knew too. People I had shared meals with. People who looked me in the eye and said nothing. The betrayal suddenly expanded beyond my marriage. My entire support system felt contaminated. The argument lasted until sunrise. We screamed. We cried. We repeated the same questions and answers until words lost meaning. I wanted details. Then I didn't. Then I wanted them again. Every answer created new wounds. Every omission created new suspicions. At one point she fell to her knees crying. I never wanted this. I stared at her. Then why did you keep choosing it? She had no answer. Or maybe there simply wasn't one. Around 3 in the morning she admitted something that still haunts me. She had planned to leave me. Not immediately. But eventually. The trip wasn't just a romantic weekend. They were discussing moving in together. Building a future. A future that didn't include me. While I was planning anniversary gifts, she was planning an exit strategy. That realization was unbearable. I wasn't losing my wife. I had already lost her long before discovering the truth. I was simply the last person informed. And somehow that made everything feel even more humiliating. The following weeks were chaos. Family members got involved. Friends took sides. Rumors spread faster than facts. Some people treated me like a victim. Others treated me like part of the problem. Apparently, every failed marriage becomes public property. My mother wanted me to leave immediately. My father wanted me to forgive her. Neither suggestion felt possible. I stopped sleeping. Food tasted like cardboard. Work became impossible. I would sit at my desk staring at emails without understanding a single sentence. One afternoon, my manager asked if I was okay. I burst into tears in his office. I was 39 years old. I hadn't cried in front of another man since childhood. That's how broken I was. Meanwhile, she moved into the guest room. We passed each other in hallways like strangers renting the same house. The silence became unbearable. Yet somehow easier than talking. Every conversation led back to the same reality. The person I trusted most had become the source of my deepest pain. I didn't know how to live with that contradiction. Then another secret surfaced. One that somehow made everything worse. A month after the confrontation, Daniel's wife contacted me. I didn't even know he was married. Apparently neither had my wife. Or at least that's what she claimed. We met at a coffee shop. Two exhausted strangers connected by someone else's dishonesty. That's where I learned the full story. Daniel had children. 2 of them. He had promised my wife he was separated. He wasn't. He was living with his family the entire time. I watched her face collapse when she heard that information. For the first time since everything began, she looked genuinely shocked. Genuinely betrayed. The irony was almost impossible to process. She had spent 18 months deceiving me. Yet she was devastated to discover she had been deceived too. Part of me wanted to feel satisfaction. Instead, I felt empty. There were no winners. Just damaged people standing in the ruins of decisions that could never be undone. And somehow that made the situation even sadder than anger ever could. After Daniel disappeared from her life, something changed. She wanted reconciliation. Counseling. Another chance. A fresh start. For months she begged me not to end the marriage. She wrote letters. She cried. She promised transparency. For a while, I considered it. That's the part people rarely understand. Love doesn't disappear the moment betrayal appears. I still loved her. That was the problem. Every memory fought against every fact. I would remember our first apartment. Our wedding. Road trips. Lazy Sunday mornings. Then I'd remember the train station. The kiss. The lies. The secret plans. My heart and my mind were at war. Friends kept asking what I wanted. I honestly didn't know. I wanted my old life back. But that life no longer existed. The version of our marriage I missed had been built on assumptions. Once those assumptions collapsed, there was nothing solid underneath. Only grief. And grief is a terrible foundation for rebuilding trust. We tried therapy anyway. 6 months. Weekly sessions. Painful conversations. Endless honesty. Or what was supposed to be honesty. The therapist asked whether forgiveness was possible. I never had a clear answer. Some days I thought yes. Other days I couldn't even look at her. Triggers appeared everywhere. Train stations. Hotel advertisements. Phone notifications. Business trips mentioned by coworkers. Ordinary things became reminders. One evening during therapy, she asked me a question. "What do you need from me?" I answered immediately. I need to stop imagining you choosing him. The room went silent. Because neither of us knew how to make that happen. You can apologize for betrayal. You can explain it. You can regret it. But you cannot erase it. Once certain images enter your mind, they stay. Permanent. Waiting. Years later, they still appear unexpectedly. Not every day. Not every week. But often enough to remind me that some wounds never completely heal. Eventually, the marriage ended. Not dramatically. Not with screaming. Not with revenge. Just exhaustion. We signed paperwork in a quiet office. Then walked out separate doors. I expected relief. Instead, I felt grief. The death of a relationship resembles an actual death more than people admit. You mourn possibilities. Future memories. Children you never had. Conversations that will never happen. Entire versions of your life disappear. For nearly a year after the divorce, I avoided dating completely. Trust felt dangerous. Attachment felt dangerous. Hope felt dangerous. I became isolated. Work, home, sleep. Repeat. My world grew smaller and smaller. Therapy helped. Time helped. Friends helped. But healing wasn't linear. Some weeks felt normal. Others felt like I had discovered the affair yesterday. The hardest part wasn't losing her. It was losing certainty. I used to believe I could accurately judge character. After everything happened, I wasn't sure of anything anymore. 3 years have passed. Our contact is minimal. Occasional messages about paperwork or practical issues. Nothing more. I've built a different life now. A quieter one. Not necessarily better. Just different. People sometimes ask whether I hate her. The answer surprises them. I don't. Hatred requires energy I no longer have. What I feel is sadness. For both of us. For the life we destroyed. For the choices either of us can undo. I later learned she struggled deeply after the divorce. Depression. Isolation. Regret. Part of me felt sympathy. Another part felt anger for feeling sympathy. Emotions aren't logical. That's something this experience taught me. You can love someone and resent them simultaneously. Miss them and avoid them. Forgive them and still hurt because of them. Human beings are complicated that way. Sometimes I think closure is a myth. Not every story ends with understanding. Some simply end. And you spend years carrying unanswered questions like stones in your pockets. I still remember the sound of that train ticket hitting the floor. Such a small thing. A tiny piece of paper. Yet it divided my life into before and after. If I have learned anything, it's that betrayal rarely arrives suddenly. Usually it grows quietly in places where trust prevents us from looking. I don't blame myself for trusting her anymore. For a long time, I did. I replayed every conversation searching for mistakes. Every warning sign. Every missed opportunity. But trust isn't stupidity. Trust is what relationships are built on. The responsibility for breaking it belongs to the person who breaks it. Even now, some nights I wonder what would have happened if I had never found that ticket. Would she have left eventually? Would I still be living inside a lie? I don't know. And I probably never will. What I do know is this. The truth shattered me. But living without it would have shattered me too. So I carry the memory. Not because I want to. Because it's part of me now. A scar hidden beneath the surface, still tender when touched, but finally beginning to heal.